Welcome sa ating webinar na bahagi. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. I'm Angela Ocol from the Strategic Partnership and Advocacy Division under the External Affairs Department of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Welcome sa ating webinar na bahagi ng Communication, Advocacy, and Network or SECCAN Strategic Initiative ng Komisyon. Sa ilalim ng pamumuno ng ating bagong chairperson, Francis Lim, at ng commissioners na sina J.V. Paul D. Francisco, Carlo S. Bello, McGill Brian T. Fernandez, at Rogelio V. Quevedo. Kasama rin natin virtually ngayong hapon ang ating partners mula sa public and private sectors bilang bahagi ng SEC Campaign Network. Ngayong hapon, tatalakayin natin ang annual repertorial requirements gaya ng General Information Sheet o GIS, at Annual Financial Statements o AFS, at ang paraan ng enrollment at submission ng mga ito gamit ang Electronic Filing and Submission Tool, also known as eFast. As the SEC continues its transition to digitalization, we have made it a point to develop systems such as the eFast to make compliance easier. Ngayon, hindi na natin kailangan pumila o gumamit ng courier para masubmit lamang ang annual repertorial requirements. Sasamahan tayo ng ating speakers mula sa Company Registration and Monitoring Department at Information and Communications Technology Department para sa ating webinar ngayong hapon. Sasagutin din po nila ang ilan sa mga katanungan o frequently asked questions kaugnay sa mga pag-uusapan natin today. Kaya stay tuned hanggang sa dulo ng ating webinar, and at this point, batiin na lang din natin ang ating virtual audience na nakatutok ngayon via Facebook Live. Hello po sa inyong lahat at magandang hapon. Para mas marami po tayong makasama ngayong hapon, huwag kalimutang i-share ang live stream na ito sa inyong mga kamag-anak, kaibigan at kaopisina para sama-sama tayong matuto ngayong araw. To officially start the program, let us all welcome the officer in charge of the SEC's External Affairs Department, Attorney Ella R. Xavier Padilla, to deliver the welcoming remarks.
Greetings to all our participants today. On behalf of the Securities and Exchange Commission, I warmly welcome you to the SEC CAN webinar series under the SEC Communication, Advocacy and Network, or the SEC CAN program. Today, as we are once again in the midst of filing season, this webinar will outline the corporation's annual repertorial requirements and discuss the process of filing these documents through the Electronic Filing and Submission Tool, or eFast. The eFast is one of the SEC's pioneer digital initiatives and was developed precisely to provide a secure, user-friendly online system that simplifies the submission process, reduces face-to-face interactions, and promotes the ease of doing business. Through this webinar, we hope to walk you through the enrollment process and the submission of files via the eFast. As we foster a fair, transparent, and efficient corporate environment in the Philippines, the SEC is committed to guide corporations so that they can meet their requirements accurately and in a timely manner. The timely compliance of corporations with their SEC repertorial requirements also ensures that the investing public has access to up-to-date information about registered corporate entities here in the country. The SEC invites everyone to submit their complete repertorial requirements now using the SEC eFast. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we hope the webinar today will be just what you need to make filing season easy.
Maraming salamat po, OIC Director Ella. Sa ilang sandali na lamang, tatalakayin na natin ang ilan sa mga frequently asked questions o FAQs tungkol sa repertorial requirements and eFast. We will also be answering your questions live, so feel free to leave them in the comments section kung hindi pa kayo nakapagpadala ng questions sa amin beforehand. Also, kung hindi nyo pa nagawa, Please don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. Check our social media handles flashed on the screen. Nasa TikTok na rin po tayo guys at SEC_Philippines. Kaya i-follow nyo na rin ang aming account for quick tips and updates on compliance, digital submissions, and more. Huwag nyo rin pong kalimutan bisitahin ang aming website www.sec.gov.ph para sa latest advisories, announcements at mga paalala ukol sa reportorial requirements ng SEC. Ngayon, narito na tayo sa pinakahinihintay na bahagi ng ating programa. For the first video, we have no other than Attorney Andrew W. Montesa, Securities Counsel 2 from the Company Registration and Monitoring Department. Attorney Andrew will speak about the usual reports that ordinary corporations need to comply with annually. So without further ado, let us all watch this.
The most basic reportorial requirements that corporations must submit every year are the General Information Sheet, or GIS, and the Annual Financial Statements, or AFS. Nariyan ang GIS at AFS upang bigyan tayo ng importanteng impormasyon tungkol sa mga korporasyon, kabilang na ang mga impormasyon tungkol sa kanilang beneficial owners at kanilang financial performance sa loob ng isang taon. Corporations with secondary licenses such as lending and financing companies, investment houses, brokers, dealers, transfer agents, and other related entities have additional requirements that need to be submitted. Para makakuha ng kopya ng template ng AFS at GIS, maaari ninyo itong i-download mula sa SEC website. Siguraduhin lamang na angkop ang ida-download mong form sa uri ng korporasyon na iyong nirehistro. For example, there are differences between the GIS template for a stock and a non-stock corporation, so make sure that to double-check before you fill out the form. Bakit kailangan magpasa ng mga report na ito? The Revised Corporation Code provides that corporations should comply with reportorial requirements set by the SEC to maintain their good standing. Hindi natatapos sa pagpaparehistro o pagkuha ng Certificate of Incorporation para mapanatili ng isang korporasyon ang personalidad, corporate powers at iba pang pribilehiyong ipinagkaloob ng batas sa mga korporasyon. Kinailangan din mag-submit ng report para hindi mamulta, masuspend o ma-revoke ang rehistro ng korporasyon. Isa ito sa mga paraan na para ma-monitor at matiyak na maayos ang pagpapatakbo ng isang korporasyon at legal ang mga aktibidad at operasyon nito. Para sa proteksyon ng mga consumer, investor at iba pang stakeholder ng korporasyon. In case of general information sheets, the SEC requires its submission to ensure full and timely disclosure of material information. Dito natin malalaman kung sino-sino ang nagmamay-ari ng isang kumpanya, sino-sino ang nagpapatakbo nito, at kung sino-sino lamang ang otorisadong pumasok sa mga transaksyon gamit ang pangalan ng kumpanya. Kung isa kang investor, maaari mong gamitin ang GIS upang i-assess kung magpagkakatiwalaan ba ang mga taong nagpapatakbo ng kumpanya. Bago ka mag-invest dito, tandaan natin na lahat ng korporasyon rehistrado sa SEC stock at non-stock, domestic at foreign, ay required magpasa ng GIS, maliban lamang sa one-person corporations na kailangan namang magpasa ng form for appointment of officers. Kailan ang deadline ng GIS? Para sa mga domestic corporations, dapat masubmit ang GIS sa loob ng 30 araw pagkatapos ng annual meeting ng korporasyon na nakasaad sa bylaws nito. For example, kung ang annual meeting ng isang korporasyon ay tuwing January 1, papatak sa January 31 ang deadline ng GIS nito. Tandaan na ang mga masusunod na petsa ng annual meeting ay kung ano ang nakasaad sa bylaws ng korporasyon. For foreign corporations and multinational companies, the deadline for GIS filing is within 30 days from the date and anniversary of the issuance of the SEC license. This applies to branch or representative offices as well as regional operating headquarters and regional headquarters. Dumako naman tayo sa usapin ng Audited Financial Statements o AFS. Ano ang dapat lamanin ng AFS at meron ba itong kailangang daanan bago opisyal na maisubmit sa SEC? Makikita sa financial statements ang financial activities at performance ng isang kumpanya. Nagbibigay ito ng mahalagang impormasyon tungkol sa kapital, investment, gastos, kita at halaga ng perang pumapasok o lumalabas sa kumpanya. Dapat isubmit ang financial statement ng kumpanya sa Bureau of Internal Revenue o sa mga otorisadong bangko bago ito isubmit sa SEC. Kung ang total asset o liability ng ordinaryong stock at non-stock corporation ay higit pa sa 600,000 pesos, kailangan na audit ng isang independent certified public accountant ang AFS nito. Kung hindi naman aabot sa 600,000 pesos ang total assets or liabilities ng korporasyon, kailangan lamang itong ma-certify under oath ng treasurer at presidente ng korporasyon. For branch and representative offices of foreign corporations, the AFS must be audited if the corporation's assigned capital is 1 million pesos or more. A treasurer certification will suffice if the corporation's assigned capital is below 1 million pesos. For regional operating headquarters or ROHQs of multinational companies, an audit report is only needed if the total revenue is 1 million pesos or more. Otherwise, a treasurer certification will suffice. Makikita sa inyong screens ang mga impormasyong dapat isama sa financial statements. Para sa AFS cover sheet ng non-stock at foreign corporations, maaari nyo itong i-download mula sa SEC website. Pwede rin ninyong i-screenshot ang nakalista sa inyong screen para mabalikan ito. Ngayon naman ay ipa-flash natin ang mga requirements para sa domestic at foreign stock corporations. Yung kinaibahan nito sa naunang listahan ay ang balance sheet o statement of financial position, income statement, at if applicable, supplemental written statement of external auditor or the number of stockholders. Ano naman ang deadline sa pagpasa ng AFS? Generally, financial statements have to be submitted within 120 calendar days after the end of the fiscal year for all corporations. The fiscal year end of a corporation can be found in its previous financial statement or in the bylaws. Ngunit bawat taon, naglalabas ang SEC ng Memorandum Circular kung saan makikita ang schedule ng pagpasa ng AFS base sa huling numero ng SEC registration or license number ng mga korporasyon. For 2025, the schedule can be found in SEC Memorandum Circular Number 1, Series of 2025. Ipa-flash din natin sa inyong mga screen ang kopya ng Memorandum Circular na ito. Bukod sa GIS at AFS, isa pang mahalagang talakayin ang SEC Circular Number 28, Series of 2020, Alinsunod sa MC28, kailangan magpasa ang bawat korporasyon ng kanilang mga valid official email addresses at mobile numbers para sa kanilang mga transaksyon sa SEC. Para sa mga bagong korporasyon na rehistro mula December 18, 2023, kasama na ang mga impormasyong hinihingi sa ilalim ng MC28 na ibibigay ng korporasyon during the registration process on eSpark. Ibig sabihin, hindi na kailangan pang mag-submit ng hiwalay na MC28 compliance ang korporasyon pagkatapos nitong marehistro. Ngunit, para sa mga existing o rehistrado ng korporasyon, kailangan magpasa ang mga ito ng hiwalay na MC28 compliance sa SEC. Bakit kailangan mag-submit ng MC28 form? Nilabas ng SEC ang MC28 upang mapadali at mapabilis ang pagpapadala at pagtanggap ng mga opisyal na komunikasyon mula sa komisyon patungo sa mga kumpanya. Tandaan na isa din ito sa mga kailangan ipasa upang makapag-enroll sa SEC Electronic Filing and Submission Tool o eFast at makapag-submit ng inyong GIS, AFS at iba pang reportorial requirements online gamit ang eFast. Ano ang kailangang impormasyon na ipasa? Simple lamang ang mga impormasyong hinihingi alinsunod sa MC28. Ito ay ang valid official email address, valid official cellphone number, valid alternate email address, at valid alternate cellphone number. Bukod dito, kailangan ding mag-submit ng Special Power of Attorney o Secretary Certificate na magpapatunay na maaaring kontrolin ng authorized representative ang email address at mobile number ng korporasyon. Magsisilbing patunay din ito na otorisadong pumirma at mag-file ng authorized representative ng dokumentong kailangan sa MC28. Lahat ba ng korporasyon ay dapat mag-file ng MC28? Lahat ng korporasyon, asosasyon at maging partnerships at iba pang mga entities na nakarehistro sa SEC ay required na magpasa ng kanilang MC28 compliance. Nakapaloob sa MC28 ang kaukulang form na kailangang sagutan at ipasa, depende sa uri ng kumpanya. Annex D ang kailangang sagutan ng mga korporasyon, Annex E para sa mga partnership at Annex F para sa mga individual. Accordingly, there are specific people who are responsible for MC28 compliance. Obligasyon ng mga sumusunod na tiyaking nakapagpasa ang kumpanya ng kaniyang MC28 compliance. Corporate Secretary for Ordinary Stock and Non-Stock Corporations, Resident Agent for Foreign Corporations, Person in charge with administration and management of the corporation for corporation sole, managing partners for partnerships and other individuals or their authorized representatives. Paano naman maaaring mag-submit ng MC28 form ang mga korporasyon? Para sa mga korporasyon na nakapagparehistro bago ang ikapangalawa ng Enero taong 2024, bisitahin lamang ang MC28 submission portal. On the right side of the screen, may makikitang green tab for new submissions. Pindutin ang downloadable annex form. Muli, Annex D ang sasagutan ng mga korporasyon. Annex E para sa mga partnership at Annex F para sa mga individual. Sa Annex D form, may dalawang paragraph na pwedeng pagpilian depende kung sino ang magiging authorized signatory ng form. Authorization paragraph ang dapat gamitin kung ang authorized representative ang pipirma ng form. Samantalang ang Certificate of Authorization paragraph naman ang gagamitin kung ang corporate secretary ang pipirma. Select the paragraph of your choice and erase the one that's not applicable to you. Punan ang kinakailangang impormasyon at papirmahan ang form. Tandaan, kung ang authorized representative ang magiging signatory ng MC28 form, kailangan mag-attach ng notarized secretary certificate kung saan nakasaad na ang nasabing signatory ay otorisadong mag-submit ng MC28 form para sa korporasyon. Samantala, kung ang corporate secretary naman ang magiging signatory ng form, hindi na kailangan ng additional attachment, hindi ito kailangan ipanotaryo. iscan ang form na napirmahan at kung kinakailangan na notaryuhan, isave ito as PDF. Bumalik sa submission portal, pindutin ang New Submission button sa MC28 Submission Portal at ibigay ang hinihinging impormasyon. Siguraduhin pareho ang impormasyong ilalagay sa online form sa kung anong nakasaad sa printed and signed form. Pagkatapos i-upload ang scanned copy ng form na napirmahan at nanotaryuhan kung kinakailangan, huwag kalimutan na pindutin ang submit pagkatapos ma-upload ang inyong MC28 form. Kapag nasubmit na, makakatanggap ang kumpanya ng confirmation email na nirehistrong email address sa puntong ito. Maghintay lamang ng feedback mula sa SEC tungkol sa inyong submission. Para naman sa mga korporasyon na nakapagparehistro pagkatapos ng nasabing petsa, ang pag-comply sa MC28 ay dapat gawin kasabay ng pagparehistro ng inyong korporasyon sa ISPARC dahil sa nasabing petsa na pagsama na ang mga nasabing platform. Punan lamang ang mga hinihinging impormasyon para sa MC28 sa ISPARC. Meron rin ba tayong deadline sa pagpasa ng MC28? Para sa mga korporasyong nakapag-submit sa MC28 portal, meron lamang 30 araw ang isang newly registered entity upang mag-comply sa submission ng MC28. Muli, itong 30 days ay binibilang mula sa issuance ng inyong Certificate of Registration, License, or Authority. Kapag lumagpas na at magkakaroon na ng penalty ang kumpanya. Para naman sa mga korporasyong susunod gamit ng ISPARC, siguraduhin na naibigay lamang ang mga hinihinging impormasyon dahil pagkatapos ng registration sa ISPARC, compliant na ang nasabing korporasyon sa MC28. Kung magkaroon ng problema sa internet connectivity, anong maaaring gawin? Sakaling walang access sa internet ang lugar kung nasaan ang principal office address ng korporasyon, tanging official at alternate cellphone numbers lamang ang kailangan isubmit nito. In such instances, the person in control shall execute and file a certification attesting that the corporation, partnership, association, or person is unable to create an email account due to lack of internet access in their principal office address. Subalit kapag nagkaroon na ng internet access sa kanilang principal office address, kailangan nang itakda ng korporasyon ang official at alternate email address sa MC28 form sa loob ng 30 araw. Kung sakaling magkaroon ng changes sa mga hinihinging impormasyon, pwede ba itong baguhin ng kumpanya? Kung gusto mong baguhin ang email address o cellphone number ng inyong korporasyon o partnership, magpasa lamang ng notice to change email address or cellular phone number sa loob ng 5 araw kung kailan ito binago. Punta lamang muli sa MC28 Submission Portal, i-download ang mga kaukulang form para sa amendment tulad ng Annex G form at Certificate of No Intra-Corporate Dispute sa ilalim ng amendment na tab. Punan ang mga detalyeng hinihingi sa 2 form. Matapos itong mapirmahan at manotaryo, i-upload ang PDF version ng file sa amendment tab ng MC28 Submission Portal saka i-submit. Siguraduhin gumagana at updated ang inyong contact information dahil dito ipapadala ang ilang sa mga mahalagang notice, advisory o sulat mula sa SEC. Muli, para sa mga bagong rehistradong korporasyon, simula December 18, 2023, kasama na ang mga impormasyong hinihingi sa ilalim ng MC28 na ibibigay ng korporasyon during the registration process on ISPARC. Ibig sabihin, hindi na kailangan pang magpag-submit ng hiwalay na MC28 compliance ang korporasyon pagkatapos nitong marehistro. Pagdating naman sa one-person corporation, anong reportorial requirements ang kailangan nilang ipasa? Narito ang mga requirements na kinakailangang ipasa ng mga OPC. Number 1, form for appointment of officers tulad ng treasurer, corporate secretary at iba pang officer. Ito ang GIS counterpart ng mga one-person corporation at kailangan itong isubmit sa loob ng 5 araw matapos matalaga ang nasabing opisyal. Number 2, report containing explanations or comments by the President on every qualification, reservation, or adverse remark or disclaimer made by the auditor in the latter's report. Number 3, disclosure of all self-dealings and related party transactions entered into between the one-person corporation and the single stockholder. And number 4, other reports that the Commission may require. Sa mga ito, tanging ang appointment of officers form lamang ang may specific template at maaari itong ma-download mula sa sec.gov.ph. Tandaan na kinakailangan isubmit itong SEC form for appointment of officers sa loob ng 15 araw mula sa date of issuance ng Certificate of Incorporation ng OPC. Kung may pagbabago, kailangan masubmit ng OPC ang bagong form sa loob ng 5 araw lamang. Paano naman ang domestic stock at non-stock corporations? Pwede po ba kayong magbigay ng halimbawa ng additional requirements na kailangan nila i-comply? Nariyan ang stock and transfer book for domestic stock corporations and membership book naman para sa domestic non-stock corporations. Ang STB includes corporation stock transaction, including relevant details when corporate shares are issued, sold or transferred. Nasa membership book naman ang pangalan at iba pang detalye ng lahat ng miyembro ng non-stock corporations. Nilalagay din dito tuwing may aalis o papasok na bagong miyembro. Technically, hindi maituturing na reports ang stock transfer book at membership book. Pero kailangang ipakita ang mga ito kapag nagpaparehistro pa lamang ang kumpanya sa SEC, Company Registration and Monitoring Department. Kapag rehistrado na, trabaho ng Corporate Secretary na pag-ingatan ng STB at membership book sa principal office ng korporasyon. Maaari pa rin itong suriin ng SEC. Pagdating naman sa foreign corporations, ano ang halimbawa ng additional reports na hinihingi mula sa kanila? Meron tayong hinihinging Notification Update Form o NUF mula sa branch and representative offices of foreign corporations as well as regional headquarters or regional operating headquarters. This report contains all information subject of any change in its principal office address, accounting period, list of directors, subsidiaries, and affiliates, and other notifications to the Commission. Maaaring ma-download ang form na ito mula sa SEC website. The NUF shall be submitted within 30 days from the occurrence of changes in any covered subject, such as principal address or fiscal period. Muli, applicable lamang ito sa foreign corporations and multinational companies. Dahil napag-usapan natin ang mga dokumentong kailangan ipasa ng mga korporasyon sa SEC, ano naman ang mangyayaring sakaling malate o hindi matalaga makapag-file ng reports ang mga korporasyon? Penalties ang unang sagot dyan. Maaari silang pagmultahin, parusahan o patawan ng delinquent status ng SEC. May kapangyarihan din ng SEC na bawiin o suspendihin ang lisensya ng isang korporasyon depende sa bigat ng kanilang violation. Under the revised Corporation Code, a corporation that fails to submit its reportorial requirements 3 times consecutively or intermittently may be declared delinquent by the SEC. The declaration will be subject to the requirements of due process, and after the Commission has given reasonable notice to and coordinated with the appropriate regulatory agency. Nakasaad din sa RCC na ituturing na revoke ang Certificate of Incorporation ng isang kumpanya kapag hindi ito nakapagsimula ng formal business operations sa loob ng 5 taon mula sa registration date nito. On the other hand, a corporation may be placed under delinquent status after due notice and hearing if it has become inoperative for at least 5 years. If the company does not resume operations and comply with the requirements, babawiin ng SEC ang Certificate of Incorporation nito.
Wow, that was a really informative video, Attorney Andrew. Kaya tandaan natin lahat, dapat tayong mag-comply at mag-submit ng requirements bago ang deadline para hindi na tayo maabala ng malalaking penalties. Speaking of deadlines, paalala lang din natin na sa June 13 na ang deadline ng submission of our annual financial statements ng mga korporasyon na may SEC registration or license numbers na nagtatapos sa 5 and 6. Sana po ay nakapag-file na tayo o handa na ang mga dokumentong kailangan ninyong isubmit sa SEC. Ngayon naman, paano nga ba gamitin ang Electronic Filing and Submission Tool or eFast? To answer that question and more, we have Mr. Noel B. Ara, Supervising Administrative Officer, and Mr. Herbert E. Mendoza from the Information and Communications Technology Department. Mr. Ara and Mr. Mendoza will be joined by Assistant Director Wilkins Win L. Wong during the question and answer proper later in the program. Now, let us watch this.
Where corporation can submit their audited financial statements and general information sheet and other reportorial requirements. All corporations, both domestic and foreign, from stock to non-stock, are required to use eFast. For the submission of the reportorial requirements, as the SEC no longer accepts submissions over the counter and through couriers. Sa eFast, hindi nyo na kailangan lumabas sa inyong mga opisina para magpasa ng report sa SEC. May iwasan natin ang mahabang pila, environmental friendly din ito. Dahil hindi mo na kailangan gumamit ng bultong-bultong papel para mag-print ng mga dokumento. Sa mga korporasyon simula December 18, 2023 na rehistro, automatically enrolled na ang inyong kumpanya sa eFast. Upon registration through the SEC Electronic Simplified Processing of Application for Registration of Company or eSPAR. Ipapadala ang temporary login credentials sa inyong eFast account sa official email address na ibinigay ninyo sa inyong NC28 compliant. Bago mag-enroll, siguraduhin na kanda ng lahat ng dokumentong kailangan ipasa para maaprubahan agad ang inyong enrollment sa eFast. Una, ang Annex D of the MC28 form na ipinasa sa MC28 Submission Portal. Bago ang lahat, kailangan muna ibasa ang SEC MC28 form kung saan nakalagay ang official email address at contact numbers ng korporasyon. If this requirement was already completed, simply prepare the same form that was submitted to the corporation, can upload it to the eFast system later on for enrollment purposes. Kung sakaling hindi pa nakasubmit ang korporasyon ng NC28 form, bisitahin lamang ang NC28 Submission Portal. Under the New Submission tab, you can download the copy of Annex D of the MC28 form. Fill it up, have it signed, notarized, and upload the same on the submission portal. Pangalawa, ang Notarized Secretary Certificate o Board Resolution. Sa Board Resolution, isinasaad kung sino ang notorisadong magpasa ng report ng korporasyon. Alinsunod sa napagkasunduan ng Board of Directors o Trustees nito. Ang dokumentong ito ay ini-issue at pinipirmahan ng mga membro ng Board of Directors or Trustees na sumang-ayon o bumoto para dito. Sa halip na Board Resolution, pwede rin magpasa ng Notarized Secretary Certificate. Anong dokumentong ito ay ini-issue at nilalagdaan ng Corporate Secretary at nagpapatunay na nagkasundo at naglabas ng resolusyon ang Board of Directors o Trustees na nagbibigay otoridad sa authorized filer na ipasa ang report ng korporasyon sa SEC. Kailangan manotaryuhan ang Secretary's Certificate. Tandaan, ang approved templates para sa Secretary's Certificate o Board Resolution lamang ang maaaring gamitin. Hindi tumatanggap ang SEC ng iba pang format. Bisitahin ang IPAS website sa www.ipas.sec.gov.ph para i-download ang mga templates nito. I-click lamang ang download links para sa baba ng login o registration form.
Kapag nakahanda na ang mga dokumento, maaari mo na simulan ang enrollment process. Step 1. Piliin ang enroll as company sa e-FICE website. Ibigay ang pangalan ng korporasyon o STC registration number. Ito gaya ng nakaasap sa Certificate of Incorporation at pindutin ang search. Piliin ang korporasyon sa listang nalabas at pindutin ang verify. Kung sakali hindi nyo mahanap ang pangalan ng inyong kumpanya, maaari may mapagkukulang o consistency sa mga kasulfay records ng kumpanya, kakailanganin mong kunan ng isang form kasama ang lahat ng iyong detalye at ito ay kailangang suriin at aprubahan ng aming team bago kayo magpatuloy sa inyong enrollment. Step 2. Ilagay ang buong pangalan ng korporasyon sa search box kasama ang korporasyon, Corp, Incorporated, Inc. o OPC. Pindutin ang search at sa mapindutin ang lalabas na mensahe. Mag-nominate ng username, email address at password para sa company account at sa mapindutin ang submit. Pagkatapos buksan ang email address ng korporasyon para sa confirmation link, i-check ang spam folder o updates at promotion tab kung sakaling hindi mo agad makita ang email mula sa STC. Pindutin lang ang confirmation link at pag-login sa IPAS gamit ang username at password na ibinigay kanina. Step 3. Pindutin ang confirmation link, kumplituhin ang profile ng korporasyon at ibigay ang mga hinihinging impormasyon tulad ng principal office address, contact person, official email address, at phone number. Tandaan na dapat pareho ang email addresses at contact numbers ng contact person sa email address at contact number na nakalagay sa MC28 report na itinasa. Bigyang pansin din ang required fields at input formats sa profile ng korporasyon. Step 4. Posibleng automatically uploaded ng MC28, ngunit kung hindi pa i-upload ang MC28 form na dati na pinasa ng korporasyon sa MC28 submission portal. Kung sakali hindi pa nakapag-submit sa nasabing submission portal, sitahin lamang ang MC28 portal para makapag-submit. Kapag nabigay na ang mga hihingi impormasyon, pindutin ang submit. Kapag kumpleto at tama ang mga impormasyon at dokumento, maghintay lamang na makatanggap ng email mula sa SEC para i-confirm at approve ang enrollment nito. Kapag na-aprobahan na ng SEC ang enrollment at verified na status ng account, pwede nang gamitin ng korporasyon ang kanyang account para magpasa ng report. Kung sakali kulang kung mali ang mga dokumentong sinumite, papadala ang SEC ng email na nagsasabi kung ano pa ang kailangang ipasa upang makumpleto ang inyong enrollment. Sundin lamang ang remarks na nasaad sa email upang itama ang mga pagkakamali o pagkukulang sa inyong enrollment. Step 5. Pagdagdag ng authorized filer, bumalik sa dashboard at pindutin ang Add Authorized Filers. Ibigay ang pangalan ng authorized filer kasama ang contact details nito. Tandaan na ang email address ng authorized filer ang gagamitin niya upang makapag-enroll at log-in sa IPAS. I-upload ang board resolution o secretary certificate na nagpapatunay autorisado ang idinagdag na filer sa kapindutin ang submit. Tiyakin na sinusunod ang board resolution o secretary certificate ang template na nakalagay sa IPAS website. The company must also fill the online form located in their company settings dashboard with the data of the authorized filer such as the filer's email address. Kapag nasagutan na ang online form, makakatanggap ang authorized filer ng email mula sa SEC na nagpapatunay na rehistrado na siya bilang filer ng kumpanya. Kapag tatanggap na ang nasabing email, pumunta sa IPAS website at pindutin ang Enroll as Filer. Step 6. Ang authorized filer naman ang mag-enroll at gagawa ng kanyang account. Upon receipt of the email, the authorized filer only needs to go to the IPAS website and choose Enroll as a Filer. Ibigay ang hinihinging impormasyon tulad ng kumpletong pangalan, email address at napiling password. Bigyan pansin ang required fields at i-code formats at gamitin ang email address na binigay ng korporasyon ang tinalaga kanila bilang authorized filer. Matapos kumbitoin ang form, pindutin ang submit. Tulad ng enrollment para sa korporasyon, magpapadala rin ang SEC ng confirmation fee sa email ng authorized filer. Step 7. Pindutin ang confirmation fee. Huwag kalimutan ang username at password na ginamit para sa enrollments. Ito rin ang gagamitin upang makapag-login at makapagpasa ng report gamit ang e-pass. Isang beses lang kailangan magparehistro ang korporasyon sa e-pass. Ngunit, maaari itong magpalit o magtagdag ng authorized filer. Kailangan lamang mag-login sa nilipas at pindutin ang R authorized filer. The corporation may enroll multiple authorized filers, pero isang filer lamang ang pwedeng maging active filer. Pwedeng i-activate o deactivate ng korporasyon ang authorized filer anytime. Depende sa pangailangan nito. A single authorized filer could be nominated by several different corporations. This shows that the company outsources its filing to a firm. Law, consultancy, and other fees providing related services to corporation may also be enrolled as authorized filers. Kapag nakapag-enroll na ang authorized filer, automatic na magpapakita sa account niya ipapang korporasyon na magtatalaga sa kanya bilang authorized filer.
Once the account is enrolled and verified, the corporation can now submit its reports. Tandaan na dalawang klase ng accounts ang pwedeng gamitin sa e-pass. Una, ang account ng kumpanya at ang ikalawa, ang account ng authorized filer. For demonstration purposes, the account we will be using will be the company account. In order to upload and submit reports using the company account, please remember that there should be no active filer. Click on authorized filers on the left side of the screen and deactivate the active filer by clicking the deactivation icon. Step 1. Ihanda annual financial statements, general information sheet, o kaya anumang report na imapasa gamit ang e-pass. Tandaan, may format kailangan sundin depende sa report na ipapasa. May pananagutan ang mga authorized filer at signatories ng dokumento na diyakin ang accuracy and completeness ng mga dokumentong isinumite. Makikita sa inyong e-pass account ang required file format para sa mga ulat na ipapasa. Kung magpapasa ng GIS, dalawang format ang kailangan mong ihanda. Una, dapat naka-PDF format ang dokumento. Maaari mong i-download ang GIS form sa SEC website. Ilagay ang hinihinging impormasyon gamit ng Microsoft Excel. Pagkatapos, piliin ang Save As at hanapin sa baba ang Save As file type. Piliin lamang ang PDF. Don't forget to save the entire workbook as PDF. Hindi isang page lamang. Para gawin ito, bago i-save ang file, pindutin muna ang options sa mga pop-up window at piliin ang Save Entire Workbook. Pangalawa, i-print ang nasagutang GIS form. Papermahan at ipanotaryo ito. Pagkatapos, i-scan ang napermahan at nanotaryuang GIS form at i-save bilang PDF. Tanyaan na dapat hindi bababa sa 100 by 100 dpi or dot per inch ang solution para malinaw at mabasa ang scan copy na ipapasang GIS form. Dapat nakasave din ang lahat ng pahina ng GIS sa isang PDF file lamang. Kapag handa na ang ipapasang report, pwede lang mag-login gamit ang company account sa efas.sec.gov.village. Step 2. Buksan ang forms at piliin ang Upload New Form. Magpapakita ang pop-up modal window. Upon selection, you will be asked to select the type of form you will submit. Choose the correct form and fill up the needed information based on the report you will be submitting. Pagkatapos nito, pindutin ang upload. Piliin ang report mula sa inyong files. Kapag na-upload na ang dokumento, makikita mo na ito sa listahan. Tandaan na kung ang form ay lalabas na uploaded forms, na tab, hindi pa ito nasusumite. Kailangan mo munang punan ang karagdagang impormasyon bago ito maisumite. Step 3. Pindutin ang Submit Edit button. Dito, maaari mong makita at baguhin ang mga detalye o palitan ng file na in-upload kung kinakailangan. You can confirm your submission in the pop-up modal window that appears. Once confirmed, the browser will take you to a page listing all the forms you submitted with the status of the document you just confirmed being submitted. Paki-check din ang Submitted Forms tab for confirmation kung nasubmit ang nasabing form. There is a View button on the right hand sign of the row of your uploaded form in the list in case you need to review the form. Magpapadala ang SEC ng automatic reply na sa email address na korporasyon bilang inisyal na konfirmasyon ng ipinasang report. Kapag katanggap-tanggap ang imahe, quality ng binasang report, magpapadala ang SEC ng QR code via email. Magsisilbing patunay ang QR code na tinanggap ng SEC ang ipinasang report. Pwede itong i-attach sa front page or cover page ng inyong report kapag humingi ng kopya o proof of submission ang ibang ahensya tulad ng Bureau of Internal Revenue o mga bangko. Sakaling may issue ang dokumentong ipinasa, magpapadala ang SEC ng email kung saan nakasaad ang mga corrections o revisions na kailangan gawin. Magpapakita rin ito sa reverted forms na tab. Pagkatapos nito, kailangan i-resubmit ang naitamang version ng dokumento. Sundin lang ang karaniwang proseso ng pagsusumiti na ginawa kanina at tiyaking lalabas ang form sa submitted form tab. Kapag na-resubmit na ang dokumento, makakatanggap ulit ng email notification. Muling susuriin ng SEC ang form. Kapag tinanggap na ito, magpapadala ng email notification ang SEC kasama ang QR code confirmation. Sa inyong IFAS dashboard, lilipat din ang nasabing dokumento mula sa Submitted Forms tab papunta sa Accepted Forms tab. Ang petsa na pagtanggap ng report ay bumapatay sa petsa kung kailan ito unang sinarmit sa IFAS. Sa kondisyon na ang napasang report ay kumpleto at naaayon sa mga requirements. Ang report na reverted or rejected ay tinuturing na hindi na-file o hindi natanggap. The corporation must resubmit the form in the event that it is reverted or rejected. Sundin lamang ang nakalagay na remarks kung bakit ibinalik ang dokumento at re-upload ang naiwas conversion sa IMAS. Bilang isang korporasyon rehistrado sa SEC, kinakailangan makipasa ng annual reports tulad ng General Information Sheet at Audited Financial Statements taon-taon para mapanatili ang inyong good standing at nang makaiwas sa penalties. With IFAS, the SEC is giving corporations an easy and convenient way to comply with these reportorial requirements. Thank you and have a nice day.
And there you have it. That was a very comprehensive walkthrough of the enrollment as well as the submission process using eFast. Again, the topics presented and discussed in this afternoon's webinar apply only to ordinary corporations. We hope that our video walkthrough helped you learn the basics of eFast, but of course, we understand that our audience may still have a few questions or clarifications about the system, lalo na sa ating mga first-time users. Kung kaya naman, we are officially opening our floor for questions. But before we do that, shout out muna tayo sa ating Facebook Live viewers. Ang dami po pala nating viewers ngayon. So, for the first viewer, we have IBPCSI, Access Zambales, HII, EPS DepEd Philippines, Hillside Palasian Manalon Farmers Irrigators Association, Inc., Leyte Samar Center for Change Foundation Incorporation, Dumalata Burubor Irrigators Association, Mangandingay Rainfed Farmers Association, or MRFA, from Mangandingay Science City of Muñoz, Nueva Ecija. We also have Ginintuang Butil Villahermosa Farmers Irrigators Association. Maraming salamat po sa inyong suporta. Samantala, pumunta na tayo sa susunod na bahagi ng ating webinar, ang Frequently Asked Questions or FAQs. Sasagutin ni na Attorney Andrew, AD Wilkins, Sir Noel, and Sir Herbert ang mga tanong ninyo tungkol sa repertorial requirements and eFast. Magsisimula po tayo sa ilang mga tanong na natanggap natin through our sign-up sheet. If you have additional questions while watching, feel free to comment below or reach out to us through our social media channels. Ngayon, simulan na natin ang question and answer segment. For our first few questions, we will be tackling the eFast system and submission process. So without further ado, what are the most common reasons for rejection of submitted reports?
Thank you, Ma'am Angela. The most reason for rejection of submitted reports is first, poor image quality, horizontal image orientation, mismatched company profile, and wrong period covered and submission type. Now, ano ba yung poor image quality? Pag yung image mo, ang resolution ay hindi 100 by 100 dpi or dot per inch. Ano naman yung horizontal image orientation? Pag naka-landscape yung image mo or nakahiga, talagang marirevert or marireject talaga siya. Now, ano naman po yung mismatch company profile? Kapag yung dokumento mo ay iba ang SEC number or company name doon sa company profile mo. Ano naman po yung wrong period covered and submission type? Kapag yung GIS mo, yung actual date of meeting ay iba ang date doon sa nilagay mong period covered. Samantala, ano naman ang submission type? Pag halimbawa ang GIS mo ay walang nakalagay na amended, pero sa submission type, niligay mo amendment. Marirevert po yun or marireject. Thank you.
Thank you po sa clarification, sir. Tama po yan. Kailangan mag-practice tayo ng due diligence when it comes to submitting our requirements. Now, how can we verify if our submission was successfully received and compliant with SEC requirements?
Thank you ulit, ma'am. Ang system natin ay mag-email sa atin official email address ng company. At ito po ay merong isi-send na QR code na as proof na final acceptance or na-accept na ni EC ang report na sinubmit ni company.
So, what should we do naman po if we encounter a system error or failed upload during submission?
Okay, hi Angela. The first thing that you do here is that you have to fix or check your internet connection rather. I'd like our users to bear in mind that you're submitting annual financial statements, GIS, and other documents, and there might be 1 pages, 2 pages, or 100, 500 pages. So the file size of your of these documents get big as the more pages you add on to them. No, so you would need to have a strong and stable internet connection so that while you're submitting, while you're uploading, you won't encounter any errors. I mean, that's one of the things that you have to consider or check.
I agree. Just like when we post on social media for our videos or photos we posted, our internet connection has to be stable. It's the same way in our system. So before you submit anything, please make sure that you have a secure, of course, and stable internet connection. Now, do we still need to mail the hard copies of our AFS and other requirements after filing through eFast?
Thank you, ma'am. Hindi na po natin kailangan i-mail ang hard copy after filing sa eFast. Pag na-accept na po ni SEC at nag-send ng QR code as proof na accepted na ang reports, ay hindi na po kailangan i-mail ang hard copy.
So the key word here is once the SEC accepts it and you receive a QR code from the Commission, that's when your files are considered submitted. So you no longer have to submit a hard copy. Your digital copy is already as good as an original hard copy. There's no need for redundancy in our system anymore.
Yes, ma'am. Yung QR code po, yung po ang proof ng final acceptance.
Yeah, so you have to wait for the QR code. That's the key word here. Kung nakapag-submit na po kayo but wala pa po kayong na-receive na QR code, that is not considered as officially filed yet. Okay. Thank you. Can we authorize a third-party filer naman po or consultant to submit documents via eFast on our behalf?
Yes, ma'am. Pwede po natin i-authorize ang third party as long as the company approve. Kung si accounting firm or si law firm or any individual na magfa-file ng ating reports sa eFast.
Would anyone like to add? Okay, sir.
In addition to the statement of Mr. Noel, in the manifestation of the third party as authorized, so the company must submit or upload the secretary certificate, notarized and signed, secretary certificate, and board resolution to attest that the person concerned that being authorized is legitimate and connected with the company.
Yes. That's a very good clarification din po. So for everyone watching, hindi lang po basta-basta or kahit sino ang pwedeng mag-submit ng ating repertorial requirements via eFast because this has to be duly acknowledged also by the SEC through your authorization or proper authorization. Now, is there also a way to track or download past submissions for record keeping within eFast?
Yes, ma'am. Pwede po natin matrack yung mga past submission doon sa ating company account. Pero hindi po natin pwedeng ma-download yung sinubmit natin through eFast. Mada-download natin siya using the eSearch. May bayad nga lang po yun.
Thank you for that. So make sure po na lahat po ng isa-submit ninyo, na double-check nyo na po because once you've submitted it, hindi nyo na po siya mada-download ulit free of charge. So now we can move on to the questions regarding deadlines, penalties, and compliance. So is there a grace period or penalty waiver for late submissions of repertorial requirements due to system issues or even emergencies?
Thank you for that question, ma'am. Generally, it must be emphasized that the period for submission for compliance of the repertorial requirements is mandatory. So, if the question pertaining to the grace period or the penalty for waiver, in the absence of any legal or substantial justification to deviate from the application of the said rules, we are going to strictly apply the period for the submission of the repertorial requirements. We are not going to allow any waiver of any penalty. However, you are free to raise any issues relative to your submission, and please do mind that it will be on a case-to-case basis so that we can determine if ever there will be a waiver or a reversal of the imposed penalty. Please also take note that for imposed penalties, corporations are allowed, stock corporations specifically are allowed to
settle their fines and penalties through installment. On the other hand, for non-stock corporations, they are also allowed to request for a reduction of the imposed fines and penalties, but this will be based on the discretion of the Commission. Thank you po.
Definitely, the lack of a grace period is justified, as we also have to consider those companies who are able to comply on time. However, it is a case-to-case basis, and you do have the right to raise any concerns, especially regarding our system. And now we can proceed to the next question. What are the penalties for the late submission of the AFS, non-compliance, or incorrect submissions?
Normally, the penalties for the late submission or non-submission of the AFS is in the form of a fine, and this is based on a schedule provided by SEC MC number 6, series of 2024. This MC provides for the updated scale of fines and penalties. Based on this schedule, on a per-report basis, the SEC will check on the equity fund balance or the retained earnings of the corporation, and from there, we will determine on how much penalty how much penalty the corporation will incur on a per-report basis. Okay, yun lang po.
Thank you. Yes, again, most of the answers are on a case-to-case basis because there's really no one-size-fits-all answer, lalo na pagdating sa penalties, because this depends on your reports and, of course, the type of company that you have. Now, what are the legal consequences naman po of non-filing?
Okay. For that question, based on our rules of delinquency, there are two status the SEC can impose upon a corporation. So the first status is the delinquent status. The second one is the revoked status. In order for the SEC to place the corporation under a delinquent status, there are two grounds. The first ground is the failure of the corporation to submit its reportorial requirements for 3 times within a period of 5 years, whether continuously or intermittently, or if the corporation, after engaging in the activities based on its articles of incorporation, will fail to commence its operation within a period of 5 years, subject to due process, the SEC will place the said corporation under a delinquent status. On the other hand, for the revoked status, if the corporation will fail to formally organize within a period of 5 years from its registration, it will be placed, again, subject to due process, under a revoked status. Or if in case the corporation will, after being placed under a delinquent status, will still fail to comply with the requirements or directives of the Commission within the period prescribed by our memorandum circulars, the said corporation will also be placed under a revoked status. There will usually be an order, this is not automatic, before we can place the said corporation either in a delinquent or a revoked status. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. In line with your question, is it possible to lift the SEC delinquency status for institutions without updated GIS and AFS?
No. One of the requirements for the petition to lift or set aside the order of suspension or revocation is that the company or corporation concerned must submit its latest due AFS and GIS. So you cannot dispense with this requirement for purposes of filing the petition to lift or set aside the order of revocation.
Yes, so before this is lifted, you have to be able to submit the requirements, of course. Now we can proceed with the questions regarding repertorial requirements. What are the required reports that need to be submitted by a non-stock or non-profit corporation?
For that, let's go to Section 177 of the Revised Corporation Code. Under the said provision, all corporations registered with the Commission are required to file their general information sheet and annual financial statements. This rule applies to stock or non-stock corporations. For non-stock corporations, they are also required to submit non-stock or NSPO forms. This is usually an attachment to their AFS, but this is not one of the reportorial requirements, but merely an attachment to the reportorial requirements. So basically, GIS and AFS for non-stock non-profit corporations.
Okay. As a church, do they have to, well, if they're registered as a non-stock corporation, are they required to report on their GIS annually? Do they also need to submit annual financial statements to the SEC?
To answer that question, we must first qualify if the church is a religious society or a corporation sole, because under our law, there are two kinds of religious corporations. So if the corporation concerned is a religious society, then it is required to submit the reportorial requirements such as the GIS and the AFS. On the other hand, if the said religious corporation is a sole corporation, it is not required to submit the AFS, provided that it will execute an affidavit expressly stating that all its properties are being used for religious purposes. So that's it, depending on the type of religious corporation.
Thank you for the clarification, attorney. Now, the next question is quite simple, but I'm sure that this question has come up many times before. How does one make an audited financial statement? Is this for an accountant, or can just anyone do this on their own?
For purposes of the execution or preparation of the AFS, it is necessary that the same be prepared by a qualified external auditor, which is or who is a licensed CPA or certified public accountant po. So yun po, kailangan CPA po.
Ayan na po guys, hindi po pwede i-DIY ang inyong mga audited financial statements. Kailangan nyo po ng CPA to help you with this. Now, are new entrants really required to file the AFS and GIS, especially if they're in the process of inviting members into their company?
For purposes of this question, let us assume that the new entrants pertain to those who are newly registered. Obviously, after incorporation, Section 177 of the RCC will now become operative. Therefore, they are now required to submit their GIS within 30 days from the conduct of their actual meeting, and their AFS, depending on their fiscal year. So if their fiscal year is December 31, in accordance with the memorandum circular schedule submitted by the SEC, they are required to file their AFS. And if their fiscal year is other than December 31, within a period of 120 days from the end of the said fiscal year, they are also required to submit their GIS. So if the new entrants being referred to here, on the other hand, refers to those corporations which are not yet formed, so obviously they are not required to submit their reportorial requirements. Thank you.
How about the AFS for the first year with cash outflow, and cost overwhelming revenues? Are they also required to submit?
Submission of the AFS is not dependent on the circumstances of the corporation concerned. So whether they have high cash outflow or cost overwhelming revenues, they are still required to submit their GIS within the period provided or required by the Commission.
With that, we can proceed with the questions regarding filing logistics and technical details. So in the GIS, what does the term manpower complement mean?
Thank you, ma'am. Manpower complement means simply the number of employees in the company.
Thank you for that very, very concise answer. If the opening of the corporation is December 25 and it has no income yet, are they also required to submit the AFS or just a notarized affidavit?
For that question, let us qualify first on what is the fiscal year end indicated in the bylaws of the corporation concerned. If in the bylaws it is provided that the fiscal year of that corporation is December 31, then the answer is in the affirmative. This means that it is required to submit its AFS for that year period. Okay? On the other hand, if the fiscal year of the said corporation is other than December 31, then it is not required to submit the AFS for that period. However, if the date of the fiscal year is later than the date of December 25, in that case, it will still be required to file and submit its AFS. So kindly take note of that.
Yes. So it just depends on the fiscal year, but you have to submit. Now we can proceed with some special cases and exceptions, if there are any. So if the company has been revoked, Is there any possibility to continue making transactions? What are the consequences or punishments? Is it irrevocable?
Ordinarily, a corporation under a revoked status will not be allowed to engage in the activities provided or indicated in the articles of incorporation and other of the other powers provided for by law. However, in the event that it will be able to enter into a transaction, this will not affect the validity of the said contract. So for the corporation, liability-wise, the persons and composing the said corporation will be liable as general partners. On the part of the other party contracting with the said corporation, if he or she has knowledge that the said corporation is under a revoked status, then the said contracting party, if in case the contract is enforced in court, will not be allowed to raise as a defense that the said corporation lacks personality. On the other hand, if the said contracting party has no knowledge that the said corporation is under a revoked status, then he can or she can be allowed to raise as a defense that the said corporation has no legal personality, therefore evading the obligations under the said contract. So basically, there's no problem with that because the law has already provided for the mechanics in case this kind of circumstances occur. Thank you po.
On the other hand, do general partnerships need to submit the AFS and GIS?
Thank you, ma'am. Ang general partnership ay hindi required na mag-submit ng EFS. However, pwede silang mag-submit lalo na kung sila ay sumasali sa mga bidding process, lalo na mga construction firm at kung ano pang mga business or transaction nila sa ibang company. Yung partnership ay hindi required na mag-submit ng GIS. Hindi po nila requirements yun.
For the initial GIS submission naman po, of the timing of a corporation registered in February 2025 with the first annual meeting in January 2026, can a special meeting be conducted to submit earlier?
Yes, under the revised corporation code, corporations are allowed to hold or conduct their special meeting on any date that they want, provided that it complies with the requisites for a valid meeting. So, in short, yes, they can.
Okay, so there you go. The SEC has no control over when these special meetings are to be held, as long as, of course, you're going to comply with the requirements. Now, I wish that we had more time for other questions, pero hanggang dito na lang po muna tayo. Maraming salamat po sa aming Facebook Live viewers for your active engagement this afternoon. I'm sure this has been a very productive session para sa marami sa atin, and we hope na marami tayong natutunan from our speakers, from Attorney Andrew, A.D. Wilkins, Sir Noel, and Sir Herbert. We also thank you for the questions you sent to us. Para sa iba pang katanungan though, feel free to reach out sa official channels ng Securities and Exchange Commission. Bisitahin lamang ang SEC website at www.sec.gov.ph at ang iba pang social media pages ng komisyon para sa mga karagdagang kaalaman. Maaari din kayong tumawag sa aming hotline at 5322-7696 o kaya sa mga numerong naka-flash sa inyong screen. For more services, you can also download the SecCheck app. Available ito sa Google Play Store at Apple App Store. Through the app, you may verify if an entity is authorized to solicit investment or engage in lending and financing activities. Maging mapanuri po tayo at manatiling ligtas. I-download ang SecCheck app ngayon. Just a few reminders po para sa ating evaluation form. Huwag kalimutan sagutan ang online evaluation form by June 20 para matanggap ang inyong e-certificates para sa webinar na ito. Just visit the link flashed on your screens or scan the QR code para ma-access ninyo ang evaluation form. Ipopost din naman namin ito sa aming Facebook page at sa caption ng Facebook Live video na ito. Muli, participants have only until June 20 para sagutan ang evaluation form upang makatanggap ng e-certificates. Kung meron kayong na-miss sa webinar na ito, huwag kayong mag-alala. Maaari ninyong balikan at i-replay ang aming Facebook Live dito sa page. Para sa karagdagang impormasyon at iba pang learning sessions, makikita rin nyo ang buong SEC Campaign Network webinar series sa aming website. Tandaan po, ang pagsunod sa mga requirements ng SEC ay hindi lang obligasyon, kundi mahalagang hakbang tungo sa transparency, investor protection, at tiwala ng publiko. Before we end this program, we invite our students na nanonood sa programang ito to please join the ASEAN Investment Challenge 2025 or AIC. Isa itong competition for college students na gustong magkaroon ng essential skills sa sustainable investing, finance management, at responsible investment practices. Chance nyo na po ito to compete with top students across the country and in Southeast Asia. You may also win up to 75,000 pesos locally and up to 20,000 Singaporean dollars in the regional leg, as well as access to exclusive internship opportunities. So ano po hinihintay nyo? Sign up and join now. Now, as we conclude this webinar, we are greatly honored to welcome the Chairperson and CEO of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Attorney Francis Lim. It is a warm privilege to have him with us. Again, welcome po, Chairperson Lim. Maraming salamat po din po sa lahat ng viewers at sumusunod sa aming webinar. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Muli, ako po si Angela Ocol, signing off.